So there is a very popular high street restaurant called Pho, and they trademarked the word pho, which is literally like trademarking pizza or pasta or
ramen.
Ramen. The trademark just like went unnoticed by the general public because no one gave a hoot. And so many Vietnamese restaurants have been suffering for like almost a decade.
Yeah, well, Pho went after a couple of like, these mum and papa restaurants.
So these mum and dad restaurants were issued cease and desists by Pho, even though they're serving up authentic thing just for having PHO in the name, which is not to go so far as to use the word like cleansing, but pretty dark. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Eastern Hunnies. Happy New Year. We are so pleased, thrilled, delighted to have you in the room with us. And we hope you've had a super restful holiday season and you're ready to get into the year of the snake.
Activate.
Ambition. Transformation.
Community.
Elevation. So for Lunar New Year, obviously massive celebration across East and Southeast Asia, and we wanted to honour this very special celebration with a very special guest. So we have in the room with us Matt Nguyen.
Whee! Here he is, baby, in the flesh.
Okay, great. As per tradition, is gonna just introduce who you are professionally, and then we'll get into it.
For sure. Matt Nguyen is a Vietnamese-British entrepreneur, illustrator and family man based in London and Manchester. Matt is the founder of publishing company Jolly Awesome Art and Motherland. Motherland is a food brand that sells homemade Vietnamese condiments, and he works together with his retired chef dad to make homemade chili oil. Their first batch quite literally flew off the shelves and sold out, which is amazing. And so to celebrate Lunar New Year 2025, Matt is joining us on this very special app to talk about Vietnamese culture, working with family, the immigrant hustle, creativity and business, and of course, chili oil. So welcome, Matt.
Hi, that was quite an introduction. Thank you.
So that was professional bio, but in your own words, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Matt. I'm turning 40 this year.
Woo!
I'm British born. I'm from the sunny town of Bournemouth.
Oh.
And then I moved to London in my 20s. Most recently relocated to Manchester. And I would describe myself as probably a creative entrepreneur. So a lot of all the business that we do is kind of anchored in creativity and stuff that I'm passionate about. I think that's really important. So. And I have a daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, a Frenchie, and an amazing wife.
We love
Frenchie's name.
Raffi, yeah.
my dad's name.
Is it?
Raphael. Shout out.
Strong name.
Is his dad and the Frenchie.
It's a strong name for a dog. And what is your ethnic background? How do you identify? What are your pronouns?
Him. I'm British Vietnamese, I think.
I think. Let's unpack.
Yeah, let's unpack it. Yeah, so my parents came over to England after the Vietnam War. So my dad was a lieutenant fighting for the South against the North communism. And obviously they lost. And he was captured and put into a prisoner of war camp. He was in there for 3 years. And he's from a family of 5 sisters. And one of his sisters happened to marry an English guy who was quite high up in the UN. So he got her out. And he was from Bournemouth. And then basically he managed to sponsor my dad's release from the concentration camp. And that's why he came over and then lived with them for a bit. But my mum was still in Vietnam for a couple of years with my sister and my grandparents as well. And yeah, a couple of years later, they managed to get my mum over. My dad was just working kind of any job he could, really. He was studying at uni to do agriculture because his parents had a lot of farmland. And my mum was studying to be like a uni teacher. But obviously that all went, disappeared when the war happened. So he basically had to retrain, restart their new lives. I think they came to the country with like $3,000
Wow.
God.
in savings. And then, my dad just did job after job. I think he did welding for like lorries and stuff, all random kinds of stuff. And then one job, he was a pot washer in a restaurant kitchen. And then one particular night, I think 2 chefs called in sick, and the head chef was like having a bit of a panic, like service was about to happen. And my dad was like, I can do it. Like he and then the chef was like, well, how? And my dad was like, oh, I've been watching, I can do it. So they let him prep that day. He cooked some stuff, and just the basic stuff that night. And the next day, the service went really well, so they just offered him a job as a trainee chef. And that was the start of his career, 35-year long career. Yeah, so he's classically trained, like French cuisine. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like an amazing origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the topic of food, we first connected we did an episode with Mr. Lee where we mentioned chili oil and cultural appropriation in food, and particularly like the British food entrepreneurial scene. We shared some DMs and we kind of like chatted about that landscape. Is that why you decided to start Motherland?
Yeah, so I have lots of ideas, right? I don't know if I'm ADHD, but I have lots of ideas all the time, and I park them. So I've always wanted to do something with my dad. I just didn't know what it was. Like pre-pandemic, it was potentially a supper club. Then during the pandemic, there's a recipe book. But then during the pandemic, when like things were a bit shit for Asians, especially in the UK, like I experienced heightened racism. And lots of passive aggressive stuff, microaggressions, but then blatant stuff as well. But then I got served an advert on Instagram for a chili oil brand. I'm not going to mention them because I want to keep this like
Happy.
it's a positive thing. It's me and my dad, But I was like reading the language of this advert, and I just, my spider sense was tingling. And I was like, this is bullshit.
Was this we scrubbed this clean for MSG one?
Yeah. So like basically the terminology was like, oh, no nasties, no MSG, authentic. You can trust us.
Ah! Oh, sorry.
You can trust us.
Triggered.
I looked at the website. There's no photos of the founder or anything like that.
Obviously.
And then I looked at the company's house as well, and it's just like this really English name, registered in South Ken. Yeah. And then the story is like, I went traveling, taught English in China, and now I'm going to, bring back the flavors. Introduce the flavors to the West. So, I actually, it really made my blood boil, right? Yeah. Especially with the cultural context of the pandemic and stuff. I just started questioning it. It's like, what nasties are you referring to? And then he responded like a really just fluffy kind of response. Just everything's natural. No. And then I was like, you claim to be authentic, but you've omitted MSG. So by default, it's not an authentic recipe. You take an MSG out and, you're using all this terminology like it's just old school, xenophobia, where it's like, Asian food can't be trusted. We're cleansing the source material. So that just really annoyed me. And then I banked the idea. I was like, chili oil. I don't have a problem with like non-Asians, doing it if you're really passionate about it and it's genuine. What I hate is the marketing language where they play into like there's a thin line between cultural appropriation and appreciation. Yeah, definitely, 100%. And it's when it's that. It just, it gets on my nerves.
Because around the same time, there was the whole pho lawsuit debacle and Simu Liu, like, defending bubble tea and boba because I think they were French-Canadian entrepreneurs were like, we're bringing clean boba.
Clean?
Boba, yeah. Again, same marketing language. And I think that's what a lot of people don't deep on surface level. Only the people who belong to that culture are like, well, that's wrong.
100%, because like, especially like for third culture, kids like us, like we grew up having our food or our culture kind of like misunderstood or like othered, and like, you know, people just, you know, take the piss out of like the food. So you feel really defensive and protective of it. And then all of a sudden now it's trendy and it's fashionable, and then you're claiming it, you know what I mean? And you're kind of using it for your financial benefit. So that pho example was diabolical. And I thought that was over because that happened like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that they still had the trademark until that girl Nguyen, who's Vietnamese, just as an influencer.
Yeah.
I saw her, she went viral. And then she's amazing. You need to look her up. But I think Yen Bui is her name. But she started a petition, and they've now dropped the trademark like properly.
For the viewers or listeners who don't know this, story, can you share what it is for them?
Yeah, so there is a very popular high street restaurant called Pho. Are they exclusively Vietnamese?
They're supposed to be, yeah.
They're like a bit of a fusion, but like a Vietnamese restaurant.
Vietnamese like street food.
Owned by two British, white British from Brighton. And their story was, we love Vietnam. Matt should be explaining this. They brought it to the UK and they trademarked the word pho, which is literally like trademarking pizza or pasta or
ramen.
The trademark just like went unnoticed by the general public because no one gave a hoot. And so many Vietnamese restaurants have been suffering for like almost a decade.
Yeah, well, pho went after a couple of like these mum and papa restaurants.
So these mum and dad restaurants were issued cease and desists by pho, even though they're serving up authentic thing, just for having PHO in the name, which is not to go so far as to use a word like cleansing, but pretty dark. So that's why it's so powerful and important that this has just happened. I mean, now in 2024, last year.
I did go in there when it first opened out of curiosity. I remember I was ordering pho, and the waiter corrected my pronunciation. So it was pho.
Oh my God. What the hell? We went as well for my mum's birthday once to this Pan-Asian restaurant in North London, and the server was white, and then we'd ordered like loads of like noodle dishes and stuff, and then they'd served it to my mum, and my mum was like, this isn't the right noodles to go with this dish, and then the server was like, oh no, it is actually like blah blah blah, and then my mum was like, no, it's not, I'm Asian.
What was the response though?
I think I just, from what I can remember, I think it's just gobsmacked. She just didn't know what to say. If you're going to bring our culture to the West, bring the flavors to the West, be authentic about it.
Yeah, or be earnest and being like trying, you know what I mean?
And engage the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just profiting off us.
All the terminology that they use in the marketing stuff, it's like trying to pull the wool over the eyes, stuff like this. Stuff, fake stuff. So yeah, I think Asian cuisine is probably the most appropriated around the world. If you think about it, of all cuisines, like non-Asian owned ramen places, non-Asian owned sushi places, Vietnamese places, Chinese places all the time. But I'm not surprised why, because the food's amazing. You know what I mean? So I love the fact that, you know, it's so good. I want to share it.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What you said earlier about being born into a UK community as a minority, because we've all been like one of one in our particular environments, makes you much more hyper aware of how much stuff means to you. Because we always talk about how if you're from the motherland and you see someone wearing your cultural dress or something, you're just like, wow, that's incredible. But when you're in the UK, it's like you're fighting to be seen, you're fighting for your space. So it matters differently to us.
Yes.
We perceive racism in a different way to someone who hasn't been assimilated British sometimes. Keeping it positive, with Motherland, we said we got like emotional looking at your content. And what has that been like? Obviously, you told us your dad's journey, but how has it been actually working with him? And have there been any generational differences?
No, it's just been really fun. It's just right now it's still a passion project. Like it's not life or death. So the whole idea for the Chilli brand came when we went for a family holiday back to Vietnam last summer. There's 3 generations. So it's my parents, my sister and her family. She's got 2 boys, myself, my wife and my daughter. And it sounds morbid, but I was thinking about death quite a lot. It was just out on the beach. I know, but like, you know, just thinking about how short life was, because, you know, seeing like my parents like losing a step, being a bit slow on the beach, like a wave knocked my mum over and she couldn't get back up. She's like I had to like go run and grab her or she would have got washed out. But and I
just on the beach thinking about death.
Well, we were in Halong Bay and I was just like, you just look at this amazing scenery and I just thought, yeah, let's do it. And then got back and presented the idea to my dad. Obviously he loved it. He's always wanted his own food business, but obviously circumstantially we couldn't do it because I think my parents always have been in this crisis mentality. Can you imagine,
survival mode.
Yeah, in like late 20s, early 30s, you had to uproot from your homeland to your motherland.
I mean, they went through literally being a prisoner of war as well.
So they're always in that crisis mode, especially my mum, I think. My mum always just encouraged my dad to stick to the guaranteed salary, you know, work for people instead of like going out on your own and set up a takeaway or whatever it was. And obviously he retired like 6 or 7 years ago. So I thought, yeah, this could be really cool, you know, use my creative background and branding to create the product packaging and everything like that and the content, and then have my dad use his skills and this passion for food to create the recipes and just do it in a very like fun, I wanted to be a fun project for him. So I basically took on all the, this is the packaging.
Motherland.
And what I really loved about your branding is that there's so much like legacy instilled within like every facet of the business.
Yeah.
So if you see here, guys.
So the Tampa seal has like the name of every family member on it.
Love that.
And then this is you and your dad.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So cute.
Did you design the entire label?
I designed it all. So the branding and stuff. It was really fun.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make it, really special. And also, just thinking about like the non-Asian food brands, I think of a business hat on as well. It's like, right, so you guys are like been doing this 2-3 years, you're more established. Like, what can I do that you can't? Yeah. That's like motherland. Your motherland is England. My motherland is Vietnam. So I can call it motherland and be proud of that. Yeah. And also, they don't show their faces on their website and their feed because they're almost a bit embarrassed because they know. Whereas I'm Vietnamese.
Hi.
So I double down. We're doubling down. Put my face on every opportunity. Put our faces on it because that's something they can't do. So.
And share with us like on here as well, like because on a reel, like, is it all of your family members' names?
Yeah, it's all our family members' names. It says like Asian family owned.
Wow. Oh my god, I didn't even see that bit. Yeah. Wow, amazing.
So everything's just being loud and proud.
And it's batch ticked. I love that. I feel like that's so important. So cute.
Legacy.
How do you know when it's perfect and ready to be sold, the bar?
Oh yeah, so we did several kind of test batches. Lots of taste testing. That's my favorite part of the job. That's my job. And then when we got it, you just nail the recipe and then you just kind of order in the quantities of ingredients and kind of extrapolate it. But my dad brought the wrong chili flakes. He brought extra hot chili flakes for our first batch. So it's not supposed to be as spicy as it is. It's supposed to have heat. But yeah, it's still like deeply umami. It's got lemongrass in there, so it's really fresh, like loads of layers of flavour, and then the heat's at the end.
I tried it on some gyoza like last week and we had it and my boyfriend started like choking and walking. He's like, it's so hot. I was like, no, it's not. He's like, there's something really spicy. And I was like, it's fine. Yeah, I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's like a different flavours.
Yeah, we're going to nail it for the second back.
Mild wasabi.
I like the heat. Mild wasabi.
Yeah, but Filipinos, it's like vinegary, strong flavours, and garlic on everything. Yeah. I think that's why we're used to it.
So tell us the difference between, obviously you have Jolly Awesome Art, which is basically a huge established publishing company that started out as a design studio.
Yeah.
Is that right? And you have an illustrator background, but you've gone into business with your wife and you're stocked in, established retailers across the UK and presumably like internationally as well.
Yeah.
So what are the main differences between obviously starting a food brand versus your like more creative entrepreneurship in terms of...
And off the back of that, we talk about this concept of the immigrant hustle. And for those that don't know, the immigrant hustle is the idea that migrants can build a better life through a strong work ethic, risk-taking and determination. Do you think all those facets kind of led you to build Motherland and be so entrepreneurial?
Definitely grew up with the idea of immigrant hustle in my household. I think I had a lot of generational guilt passed down as well. So I think my mum definitely hasn't got over the guilt, so she had to leave her sister there. So she had two sisters, and one passed away on a boat trying to escape the country. So I never met her. And her other sister stayed back in Vietnam with her family. So I would grow up hearing about my mum and dad like sending stuff back, half some money back and some clothes back. And if I didn't finish my meal, it's like, oh, you got cousins back in Vietnam who are starving and they're really poor. So I had that, mentality kind of ingrained in me. And it's just like watching my dad and my mum just not saying no to any job, like just constantly hustling and kind of just always saying that they wanted a better life for us. And like, you've got to study really hard because you don't want to live like we do. We've lost everything. We want you to have the best life you can. I was balancing two things. I was balancing my passions and also what I felt that I should be doing because of the guilt or just to make the most money, really. So I've always been creative, but they never really supported that. They didn't say stop drawing, but they didn't, they encouraged me to go, down medicine or law. I did art all the way up through to A-level and I dropped it and I did business. And then when it came to picking a university course, I did business as well because I thought it would give me a wide spectrum. It's not like really niche, but it'll give me a wide spectrum of jobs I could potentially go into. At uni, my passion came out. So I used to really love hip hop music. I still like it. And in my spare time, I used to create like mock CD covers.
Oh my God, fun.
Yeah. Like my favorite artists. And I posted them on like hip hop forums. And like in my first year uni, Eminem's DJ randomly saw my work on this. I can't remember what his name was. It's like he was a DJ on Aftermath, the record label, and he commissioned me my first project. Just for 3 years.
Shout out the early internet.
Shout out Marshall.
Shout out Marshall Mathers.
But for like 3 years, I just so randomly, but I designed mixtape covers for like.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Like Kanye West when he was first like a backpack rapper.
Wait, did you design Graduation?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was like,
Mixtape.
what?
I did do some albums.
Yeah.
But like Sean Kingston when he was a big deal, like I designed this chain, which he still wears actually. I think so it says Sean Kingston, it's like a couple of palm trees and stuff. I know. I hope he still has that chain. My tag name was Deaftone.
Word.
It was just the name of a font I liked. But so then I graduated and again, instead of carrying on being a graphic designer, I thought, okay, I spent all this money. Well, my parents spent all this money. I should make use of my degree, right? So I packed it in again. So I gave up my passion again.
Even though you're literally doing well.
Yeah, I really sure I was doing well, but then I knew like I wanted to live in London. I wanted to get out of Bournemouth. I applied for HSBC's marketing graduate scheme, and I joined them. And I was on that for 2 years, and then for a further 3 years, I moved around different roles like digital marketing, product management, all that sort of thing. And it's around 2013 where I started getting itchy feet. So I started illustrating in my spare time again. Around the time when Instagram was becoming a thing, no one quite knew what that was, and I put them online and got a good reaction. I thought, oh, these might make good greetings cards. My entrepreneurial spirit, I just thought, okay, I'm gonna print up some samples and then I sent them to the two biggest retailers at the time, which was Scribbler and Paperchase, like, because why not? And then I didn't hear anything back from them for 3 months. And then coincidentally, within the same week, they both emailed.
Wow.
Wanting a meeting. And I came in, it was just me. But obviously in my emails, I say we, but we are jolly awesome.
I've started doing that as well.
Yeah. I should have had like a fake assistant as well. But, had the meeting, and then like Paperchase, like, really like your stuff. Like, I'd love to go national with you. Like, can you deliver 40,000 cards in 4 weeks' time? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
And then on the train home, I was like Googling greeting card printers because I had no idea what to, like, you know. And then, I delivered the order, had it done, and then set myself a goal, like work on this. And within a year, I quit my job. So for a year, I was doing it. I'll come straight home from work, and I work from like 5, 6 o'clock through to 1 o'clock in the morning, doing designs, doing emails and stuff. And I quit my job in 2014, and then built the business up for a year. And then Katie, my wife, then girlfriend, quit her job.
Oh.
And then joined full-time as sales and operations director. And we've been doing it ever since, just the two of us for 10 years.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's just like one of those things where I think entrepreneurship is kind of like a mindset as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll sit in a coffee shop, I'll be drinking my coffee, and I'll be watching the barista making coffees, and my brain instantly thinks, how much, what's the rent on this place? Like, how many coffees do you need to sell to keep this place open? I wonder how much profit they make. Just constantly like questioning those things. I think it's just kind of a mindset.
I think that in itself is immigrant hustle ingrained within like our minds.
Yeah.
Somewhat. And like, I think for me anyway, and I know for you, it's been really healing and fulfilling getting to this point because we both done a lot of self-work. We're like, it's okay to rest. It's okay to like play and have fun because the output is so much better when it doesn't come from survival mode.
Yes, 100%.
And it is like finding the passion and truly like going for it.
It's that idea that rest and recovery is as essential to success as like constant
grinding
and
grinding
creativity.
No.
Yeah. Especially when you're creative.
Yeah, well, I sort of told it took my parents, especially my mum, because she's just always stressing about money. She still does now, even though she doesn't need to. It's always that worry. And I think that's another reason that propelled me to move to London. I'm quite impulsive purchasing as well. And I think it's almost like a direct result of her saying no to things when I was younger. Like now I'm buying the stuff that I want to buy because I was always told, oh, they can't afford this toy or whatever, you know.
Speaking on that, like how you grew up and your upbringing, now that you have a child, a daughter, how does your, what it sounds like a very Vietnamese traditional household, is there anything that you like keep, or is it anything that you're like, maybe that's not so healthy?
Yeah, we're definitely doing conscious parenting. Like we're really working on ourselves, and it's just really hard as well, you know, because they can push your buttons.
Yeah.
And then like, you're constantly, you know, checking yourself. Conscious parenting is like being purposeful, like what you say, like how you approach a task or a problem. So even like presenting problems back to Astra's the name of my daughter. So if she's struggling to open something or put 2 Lego bricks together, and then she starts crying or she wants me to do it, kind of present it back to them. And it's like, well, just take a breath and then, you know, have a look at it. And then if you're constantly doing things for your child, it kind of limits their self-worth. But then if you kind of present the problem back in a constructive way and they can do it, you know, they feel a bit more yeah, exactly. And kind of going back to what I learned from how my parents brought me up, like obviously, you know, I love them to bits and I completely understand the situation they came from, and the way they brought us up was like, they focused on physical, you know, well-being, so well-fed, you know, roof over your head, and that was it. But like the emotional kind of mental well-being, it wasn't really there. We never really had those conversations. And they never really asked me, you know, even though I went to a pretty much white school, one other Sri Lankan boy, like this is how non-diverse the school was. Like, didn't even know Sri Lankan. They thought it was black. So when they threw slurs at him, they were the wrong slurs. You know what I mean? This is how, like, you know, non-diverse it was. And obviously I get, you know, people always think I'm Chinese all the time, you know. And that's frustrating as well. Not because I don't want to be called Chinese, it's because I'm proud of being Vietnamese.
It just seems to represent it.
It's just annoying. Learning that from my parents is focusing on, you know, emotional support for Astrid as well. And we make her, like, before she heads out the door to nursery, make her do affirmations every day as well. You know, just get to say, you know, I'm strong, I'm powerful, you know.
Astrid for Prime Minister.
Well, that's the thing, like, I really wanted to, well, we both really want to raise, like, a strong, powerful, like, opinionated, confident girl. And we've got one. Because she's really difficult sometimes as well. So it's like, you gotta take the punches, like.
Can she eat chili oil? Has she tried it?
Yeah, she loves spicy food, yeah. Yeah, she really does, yeah. She loves soy sauce as well. Yeah, which is not good. She's not supposed to have that much salt, but...
Maybe like less sodium one.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing your culture into it, your partner and yourself come from different backgrounds. So what is your experience of raising a mixed child, and how much does Vietnamese culture factor into Astrid's day-to-day? And is that some part of the consciousness you're passing on?
It's just her exposures to food. So I, even our relationship isn't like traditional gender stereotype, because I do all the cooking.
Oh, wow.
I cook every night. Katie loves Vietnamese food and Asian food anyway, so like rice is just a staple. So, you know, Astrid being exposed to that, you know, it's just her life. Yeah. It's just like, when I was growing up, you didn't realize how lucky you were. I was like, my dad's a chef, and I was just eating all these.
Damn.
But then
That's what it tastes like.
But then you know what? But it's funny because then I would like going around my friend's house eating like a chicken Kiev and smiley potatoes. You know, you did work because it was so rare.
Smiley potatoes are fine, delicious.
A chicken, yeah.
But like, it's just so, no. But like, because you're so used to it, you know, you're used to it, and it's like, oh, you're having different food. It's like, I think that's what's special about being third culture kids as well.
Yeah, it is special.
Having that deep knowledge of two different cultures. Like, I, you know, we used to go around my friend's house, and I know how that household works. Like, I'm English. Like, I know British culture, but I also know Vietnamese culture really well as well. But it's one of those things where you don't feel fully either.
But I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone perceives themselves to be an outsider. Catchphrase of season 1, here we go. But like, everyone is nuanced. Like, when you're in a certain group, you're going to like embolden this personality and this version of yourself. And when maybe you're in a setting that's mostly white, then you're going to be a bit more like code switchy to hang out with them and like, you know, be assimilated and accepted. I think that is so interesting because we feel like that so much, like third culture kids.
Living
not really.
in that like hyphenated space.
Yes, in liminal spaces, existing in liminal spaces. But I think it is a superpower. And I think now I'm like older, I'm like, oh my God, like it's okay. You're not just because you're like different in different settings doesn't mean you're being inauthentic or fake or whatever. It's just like, you know, part of being.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah. You know how they say adulthood is basically recovering from your childhood trauma?
Yeah.
I think it's like now we're at a point where everyone is so open to different cultures and can't wait to try different food. And like, I know like friends of mine who like cook Filipino food based on recipes they get on the internet and stuff. But when you're a kid, when you're a child, like other kids are like, ugh, is that fish? And like, you know, like you carry a lot of childhood trauma from... Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So it's just different. And it's wild how, I guess, Astrid or like the younger generation, they've got Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, all this access to different culture. And it's cool and it's inherent to just being around a person. Whereas before it was, like you said, like xenophobic and unseemly to be anything other than what it is.
Yeah.
When you said about your family, they like provided like in a material and probably like physical sense. This is something I worked with a lot with my therapist because my family was very much the same. My dad's side moved to London in the 70s, and they fucking grinded and hustled to like where we are now. And like I really owe that to like my grandma, my Lola. And sometimes she used to say this thing. She used to say, you guys don't have to worry about anything now. And she said that a couple times in passing. That always stuck with me. It's just like, I wonder what she means by that. Like, I guess so in like a physical sense. Like,
Put your feet up.
Like monetary way, and there's a roof over your head.
Yeah. Because I know like when they moved here, they were like moving and building and like building a foundation. And now, now we're, well, technically I'm first generation because I moved here when I was 9. That is a foundation that they kind of like grinded and built, and now we're here. And I think Eastern Hunnies and like, oh my God. I think like we shared before we were filming, it's just amazing that we have arrived and like the platform is like here and we're building the platform to elevate.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to your point, your grandma's point, isn't that the purpose of us having children is to ensure they don't worry?
Yeah.
And that is mission accomplished if they don't. So
shout out to the legacy.
Yeah.
Fun one.
Yeah.
What are your top 5 favourite Vietnamese dishes? And what are your top 5 favourite British dishes?
5. Because it's 3.
3 Vietnamese dishes and top 3 British dishes.
Well, the obvious ones are pho, banh mi, and bún, but with like char grilled pork and spring rolls, crispy spring rolls on top. Those are my 3.
Specific like pho meat?
So if you go to a Vietnamese restaurant, always order the special, so pho that bit, and they just order all the meats. But yeah, usually like braised beef, and then raw beef, which is like cooked in the broth, and just like loads of fresh herbs and stuff. That's what I love about Vietnamese food. It's not, you feel like you've feasted, but it's quite light.
Yeah,
because meat is more of a garnish.
Yeah,
it's not the main event.
Yeah, and like even the noodles, they're not like flour noodles. They're like rice noodles, so it's still quite, and they got the fresh herbs on top. In terms of non-Asian or British, it's like this good old steak and chips. Yeah, I think steak and chips. It's Italian food as well.
Yeah. What is the difference between starting a food brand and having like a retail based?
Legislation. Yeah, so obviously my dad's a chef. The way he used to cook is like he'll cook and he'll send it out piping hot from a kitchen and it gets consumed within the next 10 minutes. Whereas food production is completely different. You're manufacturing a food product that can potentially sit, in someone's shelf at ambient temperature for 3-4 months. So there's you have to register with the FSA, which is the Food Standards Agency, and register your address, and then you're going to do some courses, food hygiene courses and food production courses, which I did. So I kind of done all that kind of legwork, and I've shouldered all that admin because I've always just wanted to keep this fun for my dad. He's retired now. He's tired. I just want to make his dream come true. That's why I'm doing it. So it's very much a passion project, and it's driven by that. But it's got legs, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm just super busy with other things as well. So we're just keeping it a batch. We'll do one batch cook, release the batch, sell out, and then maybe a month or 2 later do another one. So we're hoping to release one in time for Vietnamese Tet or Lunar New Year. So yeah.
Motherland sold out on DELLI, batch 1, batch 2 incoming.
Also valid until the 28th of February 2025. Use the code Eastern Hunnies at checkout for a cheeky discount.
On that subject of New Year, so it's so interesting because, when researching this episode, I was researching like Lunar New Year and the Chinese heritage of it and that cultural legacy. So the Vietnamese refer to Tet.
Vietnamese Tet, yeah.
Can you share like what's the differences?
Yeah, so I guess my experience of it is probably slightly hybrid because it was done in Britain growing up. But it's all around food and it lasts about a week. And, my parents are actually pretty they're really like easygoing. They're not like conventional, strict Asian parents. So my mum's Catholic and my dad's Buddhist, but there was no clash. My dad's not really practicing, but it was really nice that every time Tet came round, they do this thing where he'll cook an entire spread of food. We're not allowed to touch it. And like, it's all this special Vietnamese food, like special rice cakes and stuff. And then there'll be like a shrine with like photos of our ancestors, so his parents. So I never met my granddad. And then he'll light some incense and say a prayer. And that's the only time of year that I'll see him like being spiritual. And then just let the stick burn, and then the food goes cold, and then basically you're inviting your ancestors to come and eat. So you're kind of honouring them. And then I remember just being hungry as a kid, like seeing all this food and having to wait a couple of hours before we can then tuck into
Seeing the
food.
ghosts of grandma just taking food.
I did try and watch out for when I was a kid. Yes.
Paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
No. I'm not religious. I'm not spiritual. Right. So I have no reason to tell the story. But it's really happened.
So what is the story?
It really happened. Back when I was like maybe like 9 or 10, my mum and my grandma like forced me to go to midnight mass at Christmas.
Classic.
Yeah, but I was obviously a kid. It was like I was tired. I wanted to play with my presents and stuff. Just a kid. So in my head, throughout the whole service, I was just swearing. I was like, "There's this shit in my head." I was like, "This is shit." What? That night,
Relatable. In the pew.
damn you, I'm gonna run away. You know what I mean? Yeah.
My bionicle.
My action man. That's my action man.
Beyblades.
And then that night, when we went to bed, I was lying in bed, and I was just getting ready to fall asleep, and I felt this cold tingle up my spine. Look, I'm not religious. I don't believe in any of this stuff, so I'm going to sound crazy. And then all of a sudden, something just made me sit up, and then on my desk, it was like pitch black. I saw this like silhouette of a woman, she was static, TV static, but the silhouette just sat on my desk, and I just froze staring at it, which it probably lasted about 10 seconds, but it felt like 10 minutes. And I just ran out of the room when I could move, because I couldn't move. And I didn't sleep in my room for like the next week. I had to sleep on the floor of my parents' bedroom. But yeah, that's my experience. And
Could you see her face?
no, she's just like a static silhouette. Like,
My brother has
White
an
noise.
almost identical story.
Whoa.
Because we lived in Poland as a child, and it was this. My dad was posted as an expat, and he had this like expat house with like 3 floors, and I was in the attic. And my half siblings came to visit. My brother and sister were upstairs in the attic, and the next morning at breakfast, they were like really shaken up, and apparently my brother was asleep at the other end of the bed. Loads of stuff had happened in this house. He was asleep at the other side of the room, and my sister was by the door. And she said in the middle of the night, exact same thing. She had like cold chills, and she opened her eyes and saw from the doorway a dark silhouette of a woman move through towards my brother. And then he woke up shouting, sister, like, ate, ate.
Oh my God. What?
And she just disappeared when they turned on the light.
Fuck.
Yeah.
yeah. So
They walk among us.
They exist, guys.
yeah, something definitely like I don't know what I believe.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm arrogant to think that this is it. Like there's something greater than us. Like but I just don't know.
Do you ever, sometimes I will literally put an object down, I will turn around and it's gone. And I'm like, okay, the house elves need to stop, because like I'm trying to leave the house. Where are my keys?
I just thought that'd be your bad memory. Like,
It might be, or it's the spirit.
Yeah.
No, it's maybe the bad memory. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you're a kid, the paranormal, like spiritual stuff, or stuff my parents told me anyway, like Filipino rituals and traditions are like super steeped in spirits and ghosts, and like towing the line so you don't get gobbled up by like the diaspora.
Yeah.
But then as an adult, it's like, oh, well,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
physics.
it's physics, it's science.
So off camera, we're sharing like about Lunar New Year and how Filipinos do celebrate Lunar New Year, but we have kind of like customs and traditions that are from other cultures. Just because the Philippines as a nation have been colonized by Spain for like 300 years and then colonized by America very briefly.
And the Brits tried to...
And the Brits.
Yes.
So I think just we were also sharing about how nice it would be to like reclaim a space for ourselves and think about how that could work.
Are there any of your own New Year traditions that you have like created or co-created in your own little like family unit?
I don't know. I don't have nothing to compare it to really. I think one of our dreams is to go back to Vietnam during Tet because apparently it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like, streets are filled. All businesses are closed for like a week, and obviously you get the firecrackers and the dragon dances and stuff, and people like decorate outside their homes.
Vietnam was occupied by France, right?
Yeah, and the Dutch as well.
So how does that play out because from my perspective, it looks like Vietnamese culture has been really well preserved and food, but then to what extent has colonial impact?
Well, there is impact in the food as well.
The banh mi.
Yeah.
Baguettes and the pâtés and stuff as well.
And a lot of Vietnamese speak French.
Yeah, the architecture as well. So there's like a mini Notre Dame, and it's a mini Notre Dame in Hanoi, and you can really see the influence on the architecture and the signs and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I've been back 3 times with pretty sizable gaps in between each time. So the first time was when I was in my teens, the second late 20s, sorry, and then obviously most recently. And it was nice, but it's also a bit sad because I'll grow up hearing all these romantic stories from my dad, my parents, was their favorite restaurants and their favorite neighborhoods. And then he tried a couple of times to take us there, and then it's gone. It's like this new shiny building, I know, but then on the other hand, it's like really nice to see him getting excited about Grab, see these motorbikes on his app and stuff, you know what I mean? But like, and he loves all this stuff and like walking around in shopping malls and because they live in Bournemouth, so they're not. We're used to shopping malls. We live in big cities and stuff, and we travel a lot. But like, just seeing this big shiny shopping mall with like Louis Vuitton in it in Saigon, and it's amazing to him how. Because last time he lived there, he was like 40 years ago. So it's really nice. Like Vietnam, it's a very young country, probably because of the war. But I think 50% of the population is under the age of 30.
Wow.
And I think the second time I went back to Vietnam, there was a huge gap in between the first time and the second time. And obviously, I just heard romantic stories about Vietnam pre-war and post-war. And when I went there, it wasn't even the Vietnam that I recognized through my parents' stories. It was like all these young kids, like Gen Z, millennials at the time, starting up their own like businesses, like really creative, like indie coffee shops.
I was going to say, they're so entrepreneurial there, and there's like really kooky, like there's cafes where you have to like jump off the train tracks to sit at, and there's an old council flat block that is one shop or cafe or restaurant in every like...
It's like a neon sign,
It's just so amazing that they play and push the boundaries of what's expected in a city or in business.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really happy that they've moved on from the war and they've forgotten about it, but also a bit sad that they've forgotten about it. Like, it's affected my parents so much, and it's affected my legacy. And I spent time in the last trip just thinking,
about death.
Where would I be? Like, had my parents not moved?
Yeah.
Who would I be in this country? Like, who would I be? What would I be doing? Lots of deep questions.
We talk about that a lot, like lottery of birth.
That leads us actually so lovely and nicely to our last question, which is, if you were to write a love letter to diaspora, what would you say?
Yeah, you're special. Like, you have such a unique perspective on the world. Something that, your parents won't understand, your friends won't understand, only you and perhaps other people in your position will understand, and just own it and love yourself, really. Just keep going.
Love.
Just to add to that, what piece of advice would you give to any up-and-coming creative or entrepreneur with big dreams who want to actually put them into action?
I think choose something you love. Like, you gotta be super passionate about it and do the thing that you can't stop thinking about. Right? So if you come up with an idea and like for the next few months, you always think about it, do that because, it's hard, you know, you need to self-motivate. And if you're not enjoying it, if you're just doing it for the money, you know, there'll be really dark times where it's like trying to muster up the energy. It's not going to happen. But if you're passionate about it, you know, you'll just keep going and you'll achieve your dream. And
I do believe that when it's right, it's meant for you, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
So honor that feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
Last question. What are you up to right now? Where can we reach you? In your most recent Instagram reel, you shared like, we're at a crossroads. What's the crossroads?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, well, the crossroads of Motherland is the fact that my dad and I live like 6 hours apart. So logistically, it's quite hard. And I'm just kind of wondering where we're going to take it, where we're going to keep it as a fun passion project or not. So yeah, I think batch 2 is on the cards. So we're going to plan that. Okay. So we've just finished cooking batch 2. And it's live on DELLI.
Wow.
So yeah, go out and get it and use the code.
Use the code Eastern Hunnies for a cheeky little discount on DELLI before the end of February.
Buy this.
By Motherland.
So for Motherland, you can find us at Motherland Supplies. And you can just find me at Paperboy Matt. And I got a load of other stuff that...
Yeah. All in his bio.
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. Aren't we all? Thank you so much, Matt. Like, so insightful and so nice to connect with someone else. A, that has the same hustle, and B, like someone of the same age and background. So it's like nice to share similarities and differences and stuff.
I think we really appreciate your authenticity, your transparency, the hustle, and the quality and standard that you bring to all of your projects. And again, also just having informed discourse about things that actually matter, as opposed to other people's reactions, maybe that are a bit disappointing, because sometimes it feels like people aren't on the same page. Culturally, with cultural stuff, for whatever reason.
Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, watching. My friend Christina, I know you're watching on the tube. That was menacing, it was meant to be. Check out Paperboy Matt, check out Jolly Awesome Art, check out Motherland, check out DELLI, and check out yourselves. And for that, we're wishing you like an amazing, blessed Lunar New Year.
And Year of the Snake.
And Year of the Snake. It's Year of the Snake.
And how do you say Happy Lunar New Year in Vietnamese?
Chúc mừng năm mới.
Yay!
Happy Lunar New Year, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Year of the Snake. And we'll catch you in season 2.